What's up, guys and gals? It's Pittsburgh White Schwartz back at it again. This time talking Love Live Nijigasaki School Idol Club featuring SIF All Stars with myself. I'm Matt, formerly known as Review Starlight Guy.
Big Moist on Discord.
Yeah, I am Big Moist on Discord.
That's the one.
If you're on any of the Weiss Discords, you probably know him as the Review Starlight guy.
The
Or
SSP,
the one
the SSP
looking
Starlight
for
guy.
looking for a Tendo Maya SP.
I still need 3.
Well, we have his link at the end here. Also, myself, Andy, Brian, and Zach here.
I am
We've all
Howdy.
Yeah, we've all spent a lot of time actually brewing around and messing around with the set. And we have probably the two what I'd say are like the meta builds for the set that people have really landed on. And then a spicier build too that has performed really well actually, and I'm looking forward to talking about it.
We do enjoy the spice.
No points for guessing who made the spicy list.
I'll take full credit.
And I mean, in all honesty, with this set, you can really look at every single one of the combo options, and there's not any that are absolutely like complete dog shit. They're all pretty playable.
Some of the level zeros are a little bit awkward, but I feel like even then, maybe you could make something with them.
Yeah, you've done a lot of testing around with with the pants level 0 combo. You had some good success with that.
Yeah,
Brian.
Yeah, the Emma pants I was playing around with, and it actually felt all right. But I know there's a Shizuku level 0 combo, and there's an I level 0 combo, and I don't think either of them are all that great. So anyway,
I'm looking at that I level 0 now. It's actually really bad.
As far as the level 1 and level 3 combos go, the straightforward plussing ones are all pretty good, and I think like any combination of the choice combo at level 1, the standby combo at level 1, the pants combo at level 3, and the standby combo at level 3, I think you could kind of mix and match these however you want and have a strong deck out of that.
Agreed, yeah.
But probably the two big meta ones are choice pants and then 8 standby. But yeah, let's just get started with it, shall we?
Let's talk chicks.
All right, so this first list here, this is my choice pants list that I've been playing around with. I play the Shiriko level 1 combo into the Karen pants at level 3. The prime focus of the deck is to set up usually 2 Karens at level 3, search out some destructive events, usually the burn events, and attempt to kill your opponent with multiple instances of damage plus clock kicks from the Karens themselves with the free events that they provide. For those not in the know, the Karen's effect, the level 3 combo I'm talking about, on play, pay 1 stock, ditch 1 card, search your deck for an event. If you do, put the top 2 cards of your deck face up underneath it as markers, and you can use those markers as stock to pay for events. But only one stock at a time per event. So unfortunately, you can't pay both markers as stock for one of the 2/2 burn events. The events included in this deck are 4 copies of the 2/2 burn event. It's a counter event, gives 1500 power to a character, and also gives that character on reverse burn 2. Pretty useful both as a backup during the mid game to push a little bit of extra damage and as an extra instance of damage on your finisher since it searches events for you. 2 copies of the 2/3 money counter event. If you have a full board, choose one of your opponent's characters. It can't deal damage until the end of the turn. So if you are going for more of a 2-turn strategy, your Karen can also grab a money counter, and you can hold on to that cross turn to block a lane during your opponent's attack step instead. Or sometimes it's the only event left in your deck, and you need to just grab something. It ends up in your hand that way. But for cases like that, I also run 1 copy of the 3/1 event. The event reads, perform the following effect up to 2 times. Choose 1 card in your hand, discard it if you did salvage an event. So it gives you a little bit of access to events in your waiting room in case your deck is surprisingly small during the Karen turn. Other pieces of the deck to note are the Kanata blue level 0s, the 2Ks there, and also the 3/2 10K Kanata, also blue, on the bottom row there. Both of those have similar effects. The level 0 reads at the start of your main phase. If you are at the start of your main phase, this gains the following effect. At the start of your attack step, you can rest it, put the top card of your deck into your stock, and burn your opponent for X plus the number of soul triggers on the card that you put into your stock. So it's similar to like the Suba Wall burn from Memory Snow, but the card allows you to get around standby targets without having to crash, and it also allows you to keep your board up without crashing during turns where you need to keep it up for money counter the turn after. The level 3 Kanata does something similar. Start of attacks, ditch a character, and burn your opponent for an instance of 1 and an instance of 3 in either order of your choosing. Aside from that, the rest of the deck is pretty straightforward. Early play heal eyes, early play Shizuku's, the yellow one there, gives the character a cross from at -2 soul until the end of the turn, so both of those are survival tools to get you through to your endgame. And then Chiori's, Ricky's, Brainstorms, Drop Salvage. Pretty straightforward stuff at level 0.
No, Brian, why did you go 3 Karens instead of 4? I'm looking at your list. I just realized that.
So the problem that I was finding, I actually ended up switching the 4th Karen out for, I don't remember if it was either the 3/1 event or an extra copy of the 3/2 Kanata in one of my last revisions. But I found that the fact that that Karen doesn't do all that much, the fact that Karen doesn't heal on play is a huge detriment. So I found that fielding only 2 of them at a time, like max, tends to be the best situation, and to fill the 3rd lane with like one of the Negsol Shizuku's or the pinging Kanata to be a lot better. So I found that 4 was just clogging up my hand too much, and it wasn't realistic to expect to reverse 3 lanes for the clock kick with all 3 Karens as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say, especially with such a emphasis on the level 2 counter, you're probably planning on winning board in at least like 1 lane.
Mm-hmm.
And since it's a clock kicking combo, you need to have a character to reverse. So there's kind of like anti-synergy there.
Right.
You kind of want to have something to reverse with it. But it seems to me like the big appeal of this Karen combo is the whole event toolbox that it opens you up to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Being able to generate some of the extra stock to play the counters on your opponent's turn. Or you can even use the 2/2 counter event on your own turn if you want to like get extra damage that turn. You can just use it to pump 1500 power?
1500 power, yeah.
And get the on reverse burn 2 effect on your turn.
Yeah, and that tends to be the way that you go for the finisher with your Karen, is you search out a 2/2 event, you spend the stock that Karen provides you on the 2/2 event on Karen, giving her extra power to both hit her lane for the clock kick and to burn that extra 2.
But with some extra defensive utility as well to just have as like power counter.
Right.
And a burn counter on their turn. I feel like people wouldn't really be expecting all 4 copies.
Yeah, it's really just for the fact that when Karen goes to search your deck, a lot of the time the particular event you're looking for isn't in there. So this is to give you the best chance of finding it during any given point in the game, any given deck state that you might be having.
The only other thing that looked unusual to me a little bit is the fact that you have 2 of the 2/1 Emma back row characters, but I think we can all agree there isn't anybody up in the club paying 5 for that bottom ability.
Well, you pay the 5 on your opponent's turn when they go to their attack step.
Right. It's like an alternative to money counter. For those who don't know, the Emma 2/1 gives frontal 2k power to level 3s, and also has start of your opponent's attack step, pay 5 stock, neg 2 souls to one of your opponent's characters, and heal 1, which doesn't come into play all that often, but
I've never had it be relevant for me.
But I mean, every so often, if you have the extra stock to spare, it can get you out of a sticky situation. Yeah,
'Cause, because you have your 3 attacks from swinging for the turn to help generate your stock. Because I don't believe the clock kicking Karen, that's just free, right?
yeah, the
Yeah.
only cost associated with it is to pay 1, ditch 1, search an event on play, which isn't even a thing you have to do. It still can clock kick if you play the pants regardless.
Yeah, so as long as you have 2 stock going into your attack step, and you attack 3 times, you should be generating enough stock to be able to fire off that back row effect if you need it,
Right.
or at least threaten it.
Yeah, I mean sometimes you even trigger the choice. You can give yourself that emergency fifth stock if you feel like you're going to need the heal or the neg soul going into your next turn.
I guess you
Brian,
could like trigger a choice into it, yeah.
What's up?
did you do any testing with the 3/2 yellow Fumio event?
I did play
This-
around with it a little bit. I found that at least in our local meta, after playing into a lot of Konosuba, players were really good at playing around it. But that is absolutely a consideration for a deck like this. It does. I was gonna say it puts a greater need into splitting into 3 colors, but my deck already does that by level 3, so that is
Yeah.
that's not a concern. But yeah, definitely a consideration. The Fumio event also gives 5k power to a character, so it would help Karen win a lane there as well. So absolutely a consideration. I would maybe cut either the 3/1 event or one of the 2/2 events for a Fumio if I were going to do that.
You feel
At
like
least
you
for... Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, what's up?
you feel like you truly need all 4, or do you think it would be feasible to maybe go down to just 3 of the 2/2 backup?
I think 3 is absolutely feasible. I was
Okay.
playing with 3 for the longest time. I didn't have a lot of trouble, but the times that I did miss a 2/2 event in my deck with my search, it felt bad, which is why I'm at 4. But 3
Okay.
3 hits the vast majority of the time. It's a personal choice.
And yeah, I guess you're running that instead of like the 2/1 counter. Like that's kind of like your only power backup.
Yeah, it is. That is actually, I guess the memory or the money counter also gives a little bit of power, but that's
Yeah, it gives 1k.
that's beside the point.
Yeah.
I think another like good talking point though too, like talking about the Fumio event and like people are good at playing around it. At least in our scene. Playing against Konosuba or playing with Konosuba, at least this is my take on it personally. I feel that the threat of them having the foreclosure event, the seizure of property event, is I feel like the threat of it is actually more dangerous than them actually doing it to you in a lot of cases. I feel like even if your opponent doesn't show you they have the event, a lot of times myself and a lot of other people will just go into their attacks saying, okay, well, they probably have it, so I'm going to have to, like, maybe side attack here so they can't counter me, or, like, go jump through extra hoops to make sure they don't get blown out by it, even though they might not actually even run it in their deck.
Mm-hmm.
And with Nijagasaki's huge ability to search events, especially in the Karen builds, which are going to be on-play searching events, it's safe to, as an opponent playing into the Karen build, I would probably assume that you have the Fumio in your deck.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And kind of be, if I knew what was up and knew that the set had access to it and was trying to play around it, I would probably assume that you would have that in your toolbox, because
Right. Absolutely.
I don't know how many events are in Nijigasaki. There's like
6 or 7 different ones.
there's
They're
a
all-
ton of events.
It's a very event-based set, which is something you don't get too often.
And especially with the Karn build, since you have such good access to just search whatever you want on play, you could really just run any combination of them. And even throw in some of the spicier events to really get your opponent. I was also going to say, weren't you also trying out the standby combo at level 1 before you switched to the Shioriko?
That was the very first thing I tried.
That was the trial deck level 1, though, right? That wasn't the.
I did also try the trial deck level 1. That card, the trial deck level 1, didn't feel all that great. The fact that
The Tokameki runners.
Yeah, the fact that it needed a reverse and swung in relatively small and then didn't hold board unless you had the that one utility common that pumps at power continuously just felt.
Is that the Sentinel backup?
No, I think it was I don't remember what card it was, but it's like a level 0 common that pumps power specifically to the level 1, and it just felt really bad with that card taking up slots. As far as the standby goes, I was playing the Ayamu level 1, the Kamome combo into the Karen Pants at level 3, and it felt all right. The plus on the combo felt pretty good. The fact that it's a plussing on attack combo off of standby, the double plus immediately at level 1 felt pretty good. I wasn't playing the 1/1 eyes, I don't think, but I was playing the 2/2s as the target for the standby once I slammed it at level 1. But the biggest drawback of that deck, or at least playing like a standby into a traditional level 3 combo, is to stand by your level 3 combo onto the board early to start gaining advantage. And unfortunately, the big draw of Karen is to search an event on play from hand. So standbying out Karen, where she's essentially just a vanilla 10k, doesn't feel all that great.
Yeah, because you want the on-play ability. If you stand by her out, it doesn't benefit you that greatly.
Mm-hmm.
If you're building around this whole event toolbox, you need to be able to search your events. Makes sense.
And that's why I think you could get away with the Shioriko choice at level 1. Or also, I've seen people, I don't remember if it's Emma or if it's Katana, also running the level 1 pants. I've seen some Karin builds have that, where it's that level 1 pants combo.
I know there's I'm not sure what combo you're talking about, Matt, but I know there's a level 1 Kanata combo off book, and it gets popped back to hand when you play the
It is
climax.
booked. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I totally botched that. That's my bad. Correction tweet.
Yeah, but any closing thoughts on the deck, Brian, or do you think we just about covered it?
I think we covered everything that I wanted to mention.
That level 0 the box topper, is absolutely incredible. Pick
Yeah,
your copies up now.
card is amazing. Double hand filter. It's mill 2 on play. If you hit a climax, you can ditch a card, salvage a character, and it's also a drop salvage on play. So it gives you the ability to get cards that you don't want out of your hand fairly reliably, and get cards that you do into it.
It's definitely worth the $20 price tag or whatever's on
Yeah.
it. I think it's
30.
like one of
Like
the
30 now, yeah.
30 now. I think it's one of the
Yep.
only cards that we all share in our deck list. It's one of the few cards.
Yeah.
I've never seen more than 3, never seen less than 2 in pretty much any build of this.
Yeah, I guess the only other card that I want to give an honorable mention here too, since I don't think it's in any of the other deck lists we're going to talk about, is this 1/1 Shizuku Adachi. It is a shoot to stock, anti-change, pretty traditional Adachi, but its second effect is really where it shines. It reads, at the start of your encore step, you can send this card to waiting room. If you do, change it into the 1/0 Shizuku that I'm not playing, and choose a card from your waiting, or choose a character from your waiting room and put it into your stock. So it, even if it bombs into something, sacks itself at the start of your encore step and refunds the stock that you spent to play it. So it's an Adachi that's essentially free, which is super valuable, especially since this deck is only yellow at level 1. You don't have to stretch your colors at all to support running it.
I know we're not at 8 standby yet, but that's not an 8 standby?
I don't believe so. I don't think, Zach, you're not playing the Adachi in standby, right?
No.
I think it's safe to say that it's something that I know I wanted to run the Adachi in my list that we'll be talking about here shortly, but I feel like if I was playing 8 standby, I'd probably want to run that card too, but the only reason I caught it in my build was because I just didn't have room for it because of the other tech I was running.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when the set was like being spoiled and like people were doing set reviews for it. Strictly Broken did a really good set review of Love Live Nijigasaki. Check out their channel if you haven't seen it.
Shameless plug.
But Well, it's not a shameless plug. We're
We're
doing them a solid.
We're
There's no
community,
shame.
yeah.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I remember like watching it. That was like one of the few cards they gave like a 5-star rating to. Like, first impression was very, very strong on that card. And dodgies are just so well positioned, and the fact that this one always gives you your stock back.
Yeah,
And you get it. You know it's clean too. It's not like
Right.
off the top or something.
Yeah, you always get the stock back even if your waiting room is empty because it sacks itself first, so it can send itself to stock as part of the cost.
Oh shit, you're right. So even over refresh, you get it.
Yep.
Well, that's really nice. And like the cost of it, like leaving field, that's pretty much a fake cost anyway, because the whole point of playing in a dodge is to ram it into something a higher level, so it should be dying anyway.
Exactly.
And if anybody's trying to brew the legendary 8 choice with the Rena top end and the Shiriko L1, I would totally throw 2 or 4 of those Shizukus into the list.
Yeah, I mean,
Would be an easy include.
yeah, I think 2, maybe 3 with a card that good is probably the magic number.
We don't have 8 choice in the video, but it is on my Encore deck if anyone wants to check that out.
Yeah.
All right.
But we ready to move on here?
Let's do it.
Yeah, I
think
can't
so.
can't wait to see the spice.
There it is.
Oh
Give it to me,
boy.
Andy.
All right. Now, I
Mr.
know this
Thumbnail
looks
Butter
a
himself.
little. I know this looks a little bit weird at a first glance. A lot more best girl than you're probably used to in your Love Live Nijigasaki lists.
She just
But,
wants to be cute.
But this one is definitely it performs a lot better than you might initially think looking at it. Basically, coming into Nijigasaki when I got my playset, I thought the Cosme cards were really like interesting. The whole resonate engine you get with it. I thought there was some potential there, and definitely something I wanted to like brew around with and mess with and see if I could get to work. And through brewing, I actually stumbled upon the level 2 Cosme combo, which really pulls the deck together a lot. The deck was very tight for spots, and so some notable exclusions from the deck are like the blue runner,
The Emma Runner.
the Emma runner. Yeah, that's something I wasn't able to fit. It's not because I didn't want to run it, but it was because I needed actual color fixing. Because as you see, I'm trying to hit red and yellow at level 1, and then it's not like there's really a ton of blue in the deck. So that's why I'm running the box topper promo, the 0/0 you see
The Eye.
in the second row there. Not the eye, the one with all 3 of them on it.
That's a box.
It's not a box topper. It's actually a shop
That's
promo.
a shop promo, yeah.
I had to order these on
Lord.
Yuyute, but
Crap, I don't have that then.
it's not an expensive card or anything. It's just it's kind of tough to get here in the States. But next time you place a Yuyute order, I'd definitely pick some up. It's actually a really solid card. It's a Futaba profile, but it gets to 4K instead of getting the level.
And
So
you
on
said-
play, you'll reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a character, you get a marker, and it gets to 4,000 power. A much better 4,000 power body than the card I was running before, which was the other level 0i that sits at 4,000 power but says you cannot play backups or events, which in Love Live Nijigasaki is a very real drawback, because no matter what build you're playing, you're probably going to be running either backups for your standbys or some combination of events to really maximize what the set can do. So, and especially since I need access to my level 1 event here very early, if my 4K I would live to my turn, I would be locked off of my level 1 event, which would really hurt. So being able to switch it for this shop promo was like a really big deal. But anyway, yeah, the main theme of the deck is the Cosme Resonate package. To quickly go over that, the first card you see in the deck list there Her effect is when she gets reversed, you can send her to your memory if you have 2 or less cards in your memory. And as long as she is in your memory, every additional copy of herself, so any additional copies of that card that you have in your hand, are treated as the same name as every Kasumi you have on your field. Little confusing at a first glance, but Kasumi, the Kasumi waifu deck, and just all of her cards really run off of the resonate keyword. Resonate being they have an effect in if you reveal a specific card from your hand, you do the effect. All of Kasumi's resonate cards resonate with an extra copy of themselves. So the other Kasumi cards, the Riki doesn't have a resonate effect, but it's a Riki, so it's good to run anyway. But there's also a Kome, right? That's the where you mill for climax, right?
Yeah.
I'm getting
Yeah,
my
Kome.
terminology confused. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's the 3 copies of the Kasumi Kome. She only Komes for yellow climaxes, which we only have 2 of. But
Yeah,
it at
so
least
since you
helps
only have
you.
2, how do you guarantee getting one in your hand? Do you just hold it?
Usually I'll hold it if I come across it, but the event card at level 1, the yellow event, lets
The one
you.
with the 4 checks on it?
Yep.
Yeah.
You get to discard a climax and salvage any climax. And since I'm
So
running triple,
that really fixes you then? Okay, gotcha.
since I'm running triple climax combo, it's really important to be able to get what you need when you need it. But the Kome effect is a nice extra little dig to hit your yellow climax, if you really need to get it. But the other good reason to run that card is it has another effect. It has a resonate effect. At the beginning of your climax step, you can reveal another copy of this same card from your hand, and if you do, this gets 2,000 power and a soul. So throughout the game, you can be using this Kasumi with Resonate to swing for 2 soul, as well as being a filtering option and a mill option. Other Kasumi Resonate cards are the 1/1 Level Assist, that is also a pay 1 rest self, resonate another copy of itself from your hand to look at the top 3 cards of your deck for a character and add it to your hand. This card fills 2 roles in the deck, being both the back row pump for my standby targets, as well as being like one of my primary advantage generators. Because you see I only have 1 brainstorm in the deck, and that's why. It's because I plan to be sitting on one of these in my back row to be every turn resonating and plussing a card if I need to. But sometimes you know that your deck is like stacked with climaxes, so if you can get into a brainstorm, it could be a lot more profitable to get multiple pluses off it. So that's why I have the brainstorm in the 1 copy of the brainstorm. But yeah, so level 1, 4 copies of the Ayumu combo. Brian talked about it briefly with his deck, the Kamome combo. That is, on attack, you reveal the top 2 cards of your deck. Your opponent chooses a non-climax from among them and adds it to your hand for you. So your opponent gets to choose what card you add to your hand, but a lot of good ways to filter any card you get into any other card you'd want. The level 0 I double drop salvage is a prime way to do that.
Isn't that what Adventure Time does as well at level 1?
Yeah, the Prince Hotbod.
Yeah, Prince Hotbod.
Does the same
For
thing.
some reason, I kept thinking Professor Poopy Pants, but that's Rick and Morty. That's my bad.
There's Professor Pants. That's probably why. That's what
Dr.
he's
Pan.
called now. Yeah. But yeah, I think the standby combo at level 1's really good. I know we've been having some Discord discussions the past few days about it. A lot of times the 8 standby decks will actually opt to not run this combo. So there's kind of like 2 different 8 standby builds you could run. But the card is definitely really good in the 4 standby builds where you have more overall better targets to add to your hand off the effect because your opponent gets to pick after all.
Mm-hmm.
So just letting them pick between a bunch of useless standby targets in your hand isn't necessarily great. But that's besides the point. A couple copies of the Kanata backup, 2,000 power, to help our standby cards at any level live while being efficient with stock.
No, you like that one over the Satsuma backup where she's playing the trombone? The one that you clock yourself. I think it has accelerate.
Yeah, Nijigasaki has a really cool accelerate backup. It's for 1,000 power, and then you can accelerate, so clock yourself to, I don't know what you...
You get
I
an
think it's
extra
like look at the
1,000,
top
then
4.
you... Yeah, it's camera, and again another 1,000 power.
That is correct. Yep.
Yeah, so the fact that you have a backup, access to a backup that like potentially refunds itself is really cool, but Nijigasaki's standby targets don't sit very big on defense, so I definitely want the extra 1,000 power every time, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense.
As well as not having to clock myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tried to mess around with that card, and I have accidentally killed myself a couple times with it, just accelerating my death faster.
Yeah, you need to be careful not to accelerate to death.
The
So
Excel world problem. Yeah, but that's a 2K backup. Just double checking.
just a vanilla 2K.
Okay.
Yeah, even on weaker targets, like I don't really have like a good standby target at level 1, but you can still get over stuff with a 2K backup. Like there's tons of times where your opponent will give you a chance to just win a lane by backing up over their level 0. You know, by giving 2,000 power to your level 0. Like you can use a backup on any lane. It doesn't have to just be a big beefy target.
Mm-hmm.
And that incremental advantage does mean something. But yeah, just the most efficient counter you can be running. And I do like to run heavier on backups. Like that's a player preference. So I wanted to have some way to help hold board in the deck.
And then the car in backup, that's the money counter, correct?
No, I also have another copy of the level 2 3,000 power car encounter, which mills your
it's
opponent
3K.
equal to the number of characters you have on the field. Yeah.
Got my sets backwards. Bye.
So yeah, moving into level 2s, 2 copies of the I standby target, the 2/2I. I wanted to at least have the option to go into a, traditional beefy standby option if I'm just like hard playing a standby at level 1. Or if you just like trigger into one along the way. Like just playing a traditional standby game plan is pretty cool sometimes.
No, you
But
don't stand by out the Kasukasus, do you? The 2-1 Kasukasu. You don't stand by that out, do you?
Well, you can, yeah. So getting into that
Right.
card, this is the star of level 2, is this Kasumi. Just inherently, it has the effect of when it's attacking, if the character facing it's a level 3 or higher, it gets 6,000 power. So against your opponent's early plays, it swings for 13k on its own, before any other power pumps. But it has this really dope climax combo. So at the beginning of your encore step, if you have the win climax, and this card is in your front row, you can pay the cost, which is pay 1 and sacrifice this character to choose a level 3 character. Or no, I think you can choose any character in your waiting room, right? Choose up to 1 character in your waiting room and add it back to your hand. And then choose a character of level 3 or lower in your hand and put it on stage where this card was. So, kind of looking back on the choice pants list, where Brian was saying he tried the standby combo, but then really missed the search effect on the Karin. Since the Kasumi combo is actually salvaging a character back to your hand and then playing a character from hand to field, you can essentially stand by a level 3 character to the field, but still get the enter effect. So, out of my level 3s here,
I'm assuming the Shizuku is the one you want to hit, correct? The one with
three copies of the Shizuku Soul Shrink early play, that's a really good one, but also the Satsuma, the finisher, is also really good, as that also heals on play and sits at 11k. The Shizuku and the Satsuna are like the go-to summon targets here. as they both do something immediately impactful on play. The Setsuna healing and the Shizuku giving minus soul to the lane across from it, and they both sit pretty beefy as well, so you can actually defend them. But there's the final 2 level 3s in the deck are like tech cards you can go into in this spot as well. The Kasumi is on enter from hand, so if you stand by it with this jank combo, you get the effect. Draw 2, discard 2, and then blind stock. So that's a way to help get an extra stock. And it also has a resonate combo of its own, where if you reveal another copy of itself from your hand, when it reverses its opponent, you get to heal. You can discard to heal. So even though we only have 1 copy of that card, again, remember we have the resonate, the global resonate target Kasumi, that since we're going to just be holding one of those in our hand for the rest of the game after we get the first one to go to memory, we should always be able to resonate with any of our Kasumis. So you can get this cross-turn heal effect off multiple times, hopefully. And that can snowball really hard when it's good. And then also 1 copy of the level 3 Shioriko. She was the newest addition to the deck. Kind of filling...
I'm a big fan of that card.
Yeah, it fills a similar purpose to the level 3 Kasumi that you can change in. The Shioriko is on play. You get to, if you have 4 more characters, you can put the top card of your deck into your stock. It also heals on play, and then on attack, it pumps 2,000 power somewhere.
Not to
power...
itself, though, right?
Choose one of your characters. You could pump itself if you'd like. But this card's in the deck more so for just being probably like the best enter effect you have, as far as like just healing and getting a stock back.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of feels like it's a good in between the Kasumi that gives you a blind stock and the Setsuna, which will heal for you. So in cases where you need both the stock and the heal, you could go for this card instead. It's just a very versatile card, especially when you can change it in at level 2 with the Kasumi combo. And then, of course, there's the Satsuma Finisher, which is very, very good. During the Encore step, you can pay 2 and discard a card to burn your opponent for 2. If you have the Setsuna standby in your climax area. And this can actually trigger from the back row, FYI. So if you play the Setsuna standby and you go through your turn, and you either hit an additional standby and put another Setsuna out, or if you're just level 2 and you play the standby and standby your level 3 out to your back row, this effect can fire off in the back row. So that's really dope. So you can essentially do it the turn you put it into play off the standby, which is really, really nice and really powerful.
So that's cool.
Do you guys have any questions about it? I had something else I was going to say, but I lost my train of thought there.
This reminds me so much of a spicy Andy Stalker Awards deck. It looks like it plays pretty much the same as those, and it looks ridiculous, but I promise you they work, having played against them many times.
It sounds pretty solid. The thing that sticks out to me, how has the Kome played, considering the fact that you only do run 2 yellow climaxes? Does the fact that it gains the extra soul carry the card enough to warrant being played still, or?
I think that the fact that the card gets the extra soul is the thing that makes it worth playing. Of course, if you're playing like a mono yellow deck, like 8 choice or something, you're going to be like consistently grabbing your climaxes with it. But in this deck, it's more of like just a consistent 2 soul beater that also has the option on death to give you some deck speed, as well as in a pinch getting you into the win climax.
Okay.
Like you don't bank on it to get your win climax, but if you're just having one of those games where your win climax is not in your graveyard, and like you have your event in your hand, and it's like, well, I can't swap into it because it's not in waiting room, so it has to be in deck. You can kind of mill for it and probably get it.
Okay.
If you're out that many cards. Haven't seen it yet.
And it's
Oh, I.
is it an on reverse Kame for 3? Is that, am I remembering correctly, or?
No, it is when it's placed in the waiting room from the field, you look at up to 4 cards from your deck, choose a yellow climax, add it to
Okay.
hand, and then discard.
I am
It only searches for yellow climaxes.
okay. I'm thinking of the Bofree Kame. Okay.
hmm And I did remember what I was going to say. The big appeal of this deck is doing the Cosmi combo at level 1. So if you're at level 1 and you go for the Ayumu combo and you get a standby out of level 2, you can like standby out the level 2 Cosmi to your back row and save it for next turn. And then if you can follow up with the Wind Climax the next turn and still be at level 1, you can still cheat in at level 3 even if you're at level 1. So you can actually get level 3s on the board at level 1 with this deck, which is really, really cool.
Never to be seen again.
It can happen. But again, that's not like necessarily why you're playing these cards. It's kind of like a happy accident, and it's really funny when it happens, and really good when it happens, but the level 1 standby combo on its own is very good. The level 2 Cosmi combo is actually a lot better than you would... It feels a lot better than it reads. Being able to, like, swing for 14,000 with the climax over your opponent's early plays, and then end a turn, put into play your own big walls that will also, like, heal for you on play. It's like a pretty nice tempo swing. And then, of course, you have access to the Satsuma Finisher at the top. But the Cosmi Resonate package is definitely not without its demerits. The biggest demerit being it takes up so many deck spots. I really wasn't able to fit in any of the some of the really strong events that Nijigasaki has access to at level 3 and level 2, like the burn counter and the Fumio event, the event that gets you your events. Like, these are all kind of like flex spots, and I just didn't have room for them. I had to prioritize the level 1 event to make sure I see it, since I'm running 3 climax combos.
Now, if you went mono yellow with, say, the choice Shioriko at level 1, and then played the Kasumi package, would that alleviate some of the color problems?
I think it would. It would be... The big benefit of that is the level 0 Kome can actually just grab both of your combos at that point, which would be really sweet. I think that's like a viable build.
And
That someone could try.
The finisher, right? Or no, never mind. If you do Rina as the finisher, you don't play the Shioriko at level 1.
Yeah, like the Kasumi is its own climax combo. So yeah, so if I were replacing, if I was just to run like a 4-4 split with the Shioriko at level 1 and the Kasumi combo at level 2, I'd be giving up my finisher then. And I think the Satsuma Finisher is just like actually that good.
It's the base. It's the set defining finisher. Like that's where most people end up when they start messing around with this set.
I think it's just too good of a card, and especially when you can cheat it into play off of the level 2 Cosmi combo, and then the Setsuna sits at 11,000 power cross turn and heals for you immediately. It's really quite strong.
Yeah,
and I definitely value having a finisher in the deck. And this deck specifically is kind of like stock light. Like, you're going to be paying out your stock throughout the game to go for your level 2 combos, to go for your, to play down your 1/1s and resonate with them repeatedly. So you're not going to have like a ton of stock floating necessarily to even go for the events in the first place. But
or the arena, the three.
But the game plan's kind of just to have a climax combo at every level and always threaten something.
Kind of like the Olympics deck in Soccer Wars.
Kind of, yeah. And the climax swapper definitely makes it possible.
I'm a fan.
Yeah,
I think that's pretty much all I got to say about it, unless you guys have any other questions. I hope I covered it well enough.
Yeah, it made sense to me. It's a really cool concept. I And as you might know, I'm a big fan of cheating in level 3s at level 1. So gets my stamp of approval.
Zach, you have anything you want to add?
Nope. Truly, all I have to say is it's truly a one-of-a-kind deck. Really happy. I feel really privileged I got to see it today.
Well, thank you, Zach. And to all you Cosme fans out there, give this a try because this is honestly feels pretty competitive. But to be honest, I think a lot of that's because it is carried by the standby engine.
Dare I say, this deck is popping up.
And speaking of standby, I think that transitions nicely into our final list. Zach's 8 standby, Zach.
Here it is, the deck everyone's been raving about. Go for it, Zach.
All right, this deck is very laser focused on one strategy, which is getting standbys out super fast, and then having those standbys hit for swing for like 20k during your turn.
That's hard.
So, yeah. Here's how this works. It's focused on 3 main cards. That 2 of them being your standby targets. Both of your standby targets, the 1/1 and the 2/2 have Twin Drive, and they both have Hand Encore. So that Twin Drive is, of course, pretty good, really good. That means whenever you trigger a standby, you can just pay it out immediately to keep your stock clean while also pushing damage, which 8 standby decks have historically had some issue doing, since, of course, the standby climaxes don't give any soul. And that combos really well with the 1/0 which has it's a 500 assist that rests to give a further 500, and whenever you trigger a soul, you choose one of your characters and give it 2k power for the turn. So that when you combine that with the fact that this deck has 27 soul trigger cards in it, you're very reliably able to get your characters up much higher than they can, and which means you're often not only hitting above your opponent's characters, you're hitting above their counter range, which is really useful, and you're basically constantly knocking down your opponent's board and forcing them to build it back up. To somewhat balance this, both of the standby targets are a little bit underpowered from what they would usually be cross turn. The eye only goes up to 6k normally, instead of the usual 7.5 for this for this usual profile, but that's somewhat it can get 1,000 power cross turn if it happens to trigger a soul during its attack. So, which, as you just said, this deck has 27 soul triggers, so it's pretty likely to be sitting at 7 or 7.5 if you with the eye in the back cross turn anyway. And the 2/2 usually those 2/2s sit at 10k cross turn. This one only sits at 9.5. It doesn't have anything like the 1/1 has to gain power cross turn with the souls, but it's only 500 under, so it's still pretty difficult for a lot of decks to hit over anyway. And even despite all of that, both those eyes have Hand Encore. So even if they do get reversed, you can just start a card and they stay.
Yeah, not to mention that both of the eyes also have Twin Drive. So for your level 1 eye, because it gets 1,000 power per soul trigger you swing and hit. If you Twin Drive and hit 2 soul triggers, then it's getting 2,000 power cross turn.
Yeah,
They're very hard to kill.
Yeah, I mean, and that's not to mention the absurd power from the broken 1/0 assist when you trigger a soul as well.
Yeah. Like there's just you just get absolutely ridiculous power. I remember in
1/0 assist is the eye with the bread in her hands, right?
Yeah, right.
The waitress eye? Okay.
It itself is also a 1/0 with a soul trigger for some reason.
Yes.
Just to point that out.
This deck is pretty dumb if you haven't figured that out already.
All of the eye cards are just pretty dumb, and they have the best puns in the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
The like the I love you eye, level 2.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude, that was gonna be my finisher. Just remember, I loves you. All right.
But
The cat's out of the bag on that one.
Matt, I had something really smart I was gonna say, and you literally just made me forget it. Oh my god, Matt.
I tend to do that. I apologize.
Oh, what was I fucking gonna say? God damn it.
It probably has something to do with seeing eye to eye.
No, it did
Matt,
not.
stop.
Matt, stop.
It did not. Oh yeah, I remember what I was gonna say now. No thanks to
Yeah, I got you.
I know a lot of the criticism towards the 8 standby deck early on, because when Nijigasaki was first being spoiled, and during the initial stages of testing, I think a lot of people were really dumping on it as a standby deck because the fact that the 1/1 and the 2/2 your standby targets, inherently sit 1,000 power weaker than traditional standby targets. People, I think, a lot were just thinking that, well, you're never going to be able to win board, offensively or defensively.
Even with the backups, you think?
Even with the backups, it could be tough against opposing standby decks, probably.
Yeah, against opposing standby decks, definitely. I understand that.
But
At least on the defense. On the offense, that's another story.
this isn't your typical standby deck where you're playing for the defense. This is an offensive powerhouse.
Yeah.
Your characters probably are going to be dying on your opponent's turn, and you'll be having to encore them if your opponent's playing a deck that also cares about field and power.
Which the character encore, I think, helps alleviate that a little bit.
Against mostly that's just against other standby decks though. Like even against other non-standby decks, even though they're less powerful, they're still bigger than what your opponent probably has.
Mm-hmm.
So even against non-standby decks, you're still not getting reversed all that often.
Because you're playing standby and they're not. So
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
But
if you playing this deck are in a situation where your 2/2 they sit at, what do they sit at, like 9/5, 10k
9/5,
like
10k with the assist.
Yeah, if you're in a position where those are sitting bigger than anything that your opponent can play on their turn, and your opponent has to crash into them, considering the fact that you can hit over any board, you are in an extremely good spot.
Yeah, and you can get those 2/2 out so fast because this is 8 standby. You run so many standbys that you can, as soon as you hit level 1, you're basically guaranteed to start getting them out really fast.
Boy, do I know it.
not to mention the inherent synergy with the IMU Brainstorm. We didn't mention that in either of our 2 decks, Brian, but the IMU does have a second effect on it.
It does.
Yes, whenever you play as Climax in your Climax area, you can look at the top cards of your deck and put them back in any order. So in this deck, that allows you to say, for instance, you see the top 2 cards of your deck. There's Climax on top and then a non-Climax on the bottom. You can switch them, and you know you're gonna have standby neck on your second attack, so you can adjust your attack order so that you swing with the weaker character. Then say you swing with the 1/1 and you have a 2/2 in waiting room. When you swing with the 1/1 first, then you swing with the second character second, and then when you hit the standby, you can just standby over it. So it gives you so much control over what to do, because usually what hurts standby decks is it sucks when you hit a standby trigger on your first attack, because it just you have to standby to the back row or not standby at all, unless you want to lose an attack. So that really helps take care of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think that,
I was just gonna say.
I think the fact that stop talking. I'm talking.
Go ahead.
All right, thanks. I think the fact that the eyes all have twin drive really helps with that too.
Yeah.
So you can set it up so like your second attack triggers the standby, and then your third attack you can like twin drive immediately. Like you know when you have to twin drive.
Mm-hmm.
So it immediately cleans it out.
I have the talking stick.
What were you gonna say, Brian?
No, I was just gonna comment on how well the deck plays into itself with the top 2 rearrange and all the standby targets having twin drive. It's extremely clean.
Yeah, just as clean as your stock going into second deck.
So can you?
I always find that. Sorry, Matt.
Sleepy Girl. I can never remember Sleepy Girl's name, but can you explain the inclusion of the 2/1 Sleepy Girl box topper?
Yes, that is a global 1K with the effect that you can rest it, choose a character, and when that character reverses its battle opponent, you bomb deck that battle opponent. So it's basically there for the matches where you want to play a little bit more defensively for the extra power, or if there's something in particular that, like, say you're going up against another standby deck that has an encore effect plays around the encore effect really well.
And you're always going to be winning lane.
You're always getting that
since
reverse.
The eyes get so massive.
And that card is actually sold out on Nova.
It is.
Yes.
It was sold out on Yute for a while too, which is why I don't have any.
Yes,
aside from the eye box topper, that's probably like the other like best box topper.
The Setsuna Searcher. I think it's a
Yeah.
Setsun is a good card, but I haven't seen a deck that plays it yet. I mean, it's a
I think
fun,
it's more just Setsuna collectors.
I have 4 deck. Feel free to check them out.
but yeah, Setsun has got that waifu tax.
Yeah.
Dude, the waifu tax is real. I didn't think it was real until I got into this game.
Yeah. So, I also want to move on to the top end a bit. Your level 3s. So the way I look at it, you have a lot of options to like really pop off once you get your level 3s off, because you have 3 different level 3s that all have ways to do extra instances of damage. So, of course, we went over the 3-2 Kanata earlier with Brian's list. It's when you go at the beginning of your attack step, you can risk the Kanata, discard a card, burn 1, burn 3, or burn 3, burn 1 if you prefer. So that is a good way to get a little bit of extra damage, and that's my preferred way to start to put more damage pressure on my opponent in the late game, which is why I run 4 of it, since I would rather not rely on a climax combo for extra burns if I don't have to. The Setsuna, as anyone over in his list, you can. It is a pay 2, ditch 1, burn 2 with the Setsuna climax, and it doesn't have to be. It just has to be rested, I believe.
It doesn't have to.
I don't even know if it has to be rested. It just has to be on the board at start of on.
Yeah, there's no requirement. It just has to be on the board.
Yeah, so you can just. I guess I just thought it was rest because that you usually stand by it out with that very same climax into the back row,
it
and then it
usually is
burns
rested,
at the end. So that's another way. And then there's also the 3-2 Aimu, which I like to call Lion because it has the same effect as the Lion from Kimono Friends. It's whenever you trigger whatever's put into play by the effect of the other climax combo, the one with the Aimu and Shiriko on it, you can pay 1, ditch 2, and then stand it. So usually you want to do that after you trigger it. So you trigger that card, you pay 1, ditch 2, and then you basically get a 4th attack. It also, just for completion's sake, it also has a power buff that's stockpiled experience. If you have 4 experience, it gives 1500 power to all of your music characters, not just itself. So that's a way to get even more power, and that works cross turn as well. So that can help with building up bulk cross turn. So it's a lot of utility value.
Seems like a really good like if you trigger into a standby climax like mid attack step and you want to like put something else on field to like both hold field itself as well as pump your field. Like if your back row is already occupied, this is probably like one of the best upgrades to one of your other front row characters.
It is pretty incredible when it comes out because you play it out, you get a level 3. If you have the experience requirement, you buff your entire field, and you get a 4th attack off of it. So like it gives you a huge boost if you manage to hit it.
Yeah, the deck does have a lot of just even if you're not going for a quote unquote finisher combo, you can kind of just like sack into a kill board.
Yeah,
and
that's the way I usually play the deck. I usually just basically how I usually play it is I get 3 of my standby targets out early on, and I basically just sit
Early
with
on
them
being like level
and
2.
just attack 3 times each turn until until I start to until I reach level 2, and I'm starting to get my level 3s out. And then while I'm just attacking 3 times, I'm hitting a lot of souls. I'm pushing a lot of damage, and some of them, and enough of it is sticking that by the time I'm eventually able to get to a point where I can just like play a bunch of Kanatas or Cessinas and just burn my opponent out to finish them off.
Hmm.
So I basically grind them down all game and then hit them with a big finishing attack.
Yeah,
Hmm.
the fact that the deck has so many ways to just incidentally push damage, whether that be through Twin Drive or from the Lion restand or from the Kanata or from the sets in a combo, you're not really locked to one way to finish your opponent off. Like I've played into this deck with Zach playing it a lot, and I don't
Seems
think
very toolboxy.
it is extremely toolboxy. And I don't think I have had the sets in a combo used against me a single time.
Yeah,
But
that's why I only have 3 in there. It's not my main strategy.
right,
Like
because
half the time I don't even have to use the contest. Usually, my opponent my opponent's like taking enough damage that I can just let the eyes just continue to get there and just grind them out.
and you're running down their resources because you're hitting over like every lane of their board every single turn with this deck with the stupid
Yeah.
power pump.
And whereas if they hit over mine, it just taxes my hand a bit.
Hmm.
Which, granted, that's something we should talk about. The main thing you have to worry about with the deck is keeping your hand up. There, I tried for a long time using the 1-0 climax and Beast of the Lion just to see because I thought that would help my hand better, but it honestly just it helps for one turn. It gives me one extra turn of of a forward hand,
Hmm.
but it runs out straight after that. Just because your characters are a bit smaller than they usually would be, it's more likely that they will be reversed and that you'll have to sacrifice hand to get them back. So I often find myself relying on hitting standbys to keep my hand up, or just having to clock a bit more often.
I mean,
Mm.
with all the twin drives in the deck, I don't think hitting standby is much of an issue as far as I've
Yeah,
seen. So
yeah.
And I mean, you can super twist the knife with this deck too. The way it's built, it looks like.
Hmm.
no,
I,
if you're not prepared to play into this, it's brutal. It runs you down.
I did have a couple questions, Zach. You already addressed one of them. I was going to mention the 1-0 standby combo. And that kind of feeds into my other question too. Is like, which you kind of also addressed. Is like,
I love that one
how,
zero
like
combo.
how do you deal with like the hand crunch? Because like the lion combo makes you discard 2. The Setsuna combo discards 1. The Kanata that burns for 1 and burns for 3. That also is I believe it's what, pay 1, discard 1, rest it.
It's just ditch a character, the Kanata.
Ditch, ditch and rest. That's it.
Okay, well you're still discarding a card for
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So,
Yeah. So how do you deal with like that hand issue?
I already mentioned the brainstorm, but the main strategy I do is during my first deck, I focus super hard on trying to make my compression as perfect as possible. Not only so that I can cancel more going to second deck, but also so that when I brainstorm, I'm more likely to hit. And when I'm in my second deck, I brainstorm a lot more just to keep my hand up, so I can keep pressing off the brainstorm. I try not to do it too recklessly. Like if you don't need any more hand, you don't think if you think you have enough, don't do it. Just sit on your compression so you can cancel. But the other main thing I did is you notice that I run the Ricky the instead of I run the costuming Ricky instead of the arena drop search, and the main reason I did that is just because I found myself often having to use the drop search early on to get my 1-0 eyes. Because it's super important that you get that, because the deck doesn't function. You can't do the stupid parts of the deck without that card. You need that card.
Hmm.
The
Mm.
back row one, correct?
The back row
Yeah.
one, right?
Yeah, so it's super important that you get that. And frankly, the costume Ricky is enough for that. since that's usually all I use the arena drop searcher for. So I ended up switching to that just so I could preserve my hand a little bit more. But when you're actually like piloting the deck, you basically just need to hold hand as well as you can. Just don't. You have to be very conservative with how you spend it. Like every time, don't just discard cards like without thinking. Don't care your characters. Think about am I able to like replace this turn? Do it if I have a 1/1 eye in hand already. Is it like is it worth like a discarding to save something else? Like you just need to think and consider. Uh, think, take your time. Think about if it's worth discarding
Mm-hmm.
before you do any discarding. You just have to be super conservative with your cards.
Yeah, like
Wouldn't you
giving
wanna
up the
discard
plussing
my targets,
combo,
though?
you really have to be.
Yeah. And like I said earlier, you have to clock a little bit more. I often don't want to clock like once I hit level 2, but frankly, whenever I think to myself, "Oh, I'm not going to clock at all during level 2. I'm just going to sit on my super compressed deck," I find that I have barely enough cards left when it gets to level 3 and I start burning with my Kanatas. Just because they're just so taxing. Even though it's just one, I'm always having to discard to keep my hand up,
Right.
to keep my field up.
Yeah, like Andy pointed out a little bit ago, it just everything in this deck wants a discard from you.
Yeah,
Um,
and that's really the best solution I can really offer. Is you just have to be conservative about it.
That's kind of how
well,
Standby Pants and Review Starlight JP works as well. Is like you're just discarding all the time.
hmm. I, maybe a possible solution. I don't know if you've tested this or not, Zach, but maybe switching out the Shizuku early play. Like, it's a really really good card. Um, but since that's your really only higher level yellow card anyway. Would you consider cutting the Shizuku early play for the Emma early play, the blue one, which has an effect of actually plussing cards to your hand as well?
Could you remind me what that does? I actually have not tested with it yet.
The Emma is a 2 or less climax early play.
Okay,
I
same condition as a Shizuku.
Yeah, I don't remember if it gets power or not, but it's on the turn it's played. If it scores a reverse, look it up to the top 4 cards of your deck, take up to 2 characters to hand.
That does sound pretty good. I should probably explain why I have the 3/2 Shizuku in there to begin with. I like it because it like pseudo heals. It's a neg soul card. So the other RP healer in the set is the 3/2i, which is basically uh it's aqua. It's early play
Oh,
full field.
the honey.
It's the
Discard a card, heal
mesmerizing
to
water
stock.
goddess, yeah.
Yeah, mesmerizing. Yeah, I was blanking on one of the most iconic cards in the game for some reason. But yeah, I didn't want to run that because that makes you discard a card to get the heal. So on it, I was playing around with that instead because it basically just negs. It makes you take less damage or no damage at all in the lane, which is super nice. But the fact that the Emma pluses, I think that is something I'm definitely gonna try and experiment with a bit more. I think that would be very useful and a great way to keep my hand up.
Yeah, the Emma's blue too, so it fits your color. The colors
Yeah,
you're going for
yeah,
a little bit nicer.
yeah. I'm able to get the yellow in for the Shizuku easily enough already because I like 6 of my level zeros are yellow, so
Right.
it's easy enough to just level 1 and that's fine. But the Emma might work just as well. This is one even more blue for the sake of the money counters.
Right, right.
Also, if you're just listening, yeah, this deck has 3 money counters. That is also a really great way to stay at to stay at level 2 longer. You basically just happen to draw on once at some point, draw into it at some point in the game, and you just clutch it and just hold on to it because you're always gonna have a full field with this deck unless your opponent's running wind, in which case you've basically already lost.
I kind of like to look at money counters also like a quote unquote off finisher as well.
Mhm. I
Because
can
like
see that.
you're saying you're not always going for the climax combos anyway, but if you're not going for like the climax combos and stuff, like a lot of times you would just be swinging like 1, 2, 3 and pass turn,
Mhm.
right? And you're planning to live back another turn to attack again. Like if you're not using your stock on a climax combo, you can use that stock on a defensive option like a money counter
Oh yeah, I do that
to
all the
live back
time.
to your turn.
Yeah, I do that quite regularly. It works so well in this deck because your opponent can feel like they're playing into slime or something just because you're like taking no damage because of the costing, because of the money counter, because of how compressed you are on second deck, because of how clean your first deck was. Like it is. This deck is surprisingly quite defensive in that way.
Hmm.
The money counter, I really really like it in this list.
But would you like
Because like
instead
if
of
you're
one?
saying like you're not really going, if you're not playing towards a finishing combo, that just complements that playstyle so well. Because even if you don't get a climax combo off, you can still threaten something.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah,
I
the money counter is basically free. A lot of the stuff in the deck doesn't require you to pay stock. All of your standby targets, with 8 standbys in the deck, especially being compressed on second deck, should be coming onto the field via the standby effect, not via paying stock. So you have a lot of extra stock to play around with
Yeah.
for things like money counter.
Yeah, and even if you have to hard play 119 or something, it's not that bad. It's just one stock.
No, definitely
Because
not.
that eye is going to be there for the rest of the game, basically, until you standby over it into a level 2 eye.
The one thing I noticed about your deck, Zach, that I think is kind of a notable exclusion here is the exclusion of the trial deck Setsuna, Love and Peace, Yuki Setsuna. The ones that's continuous. If there's 4 more characters and their music during your turn, it gets plus 5,000 power and it has the continuous ability. You cannot play events uh, from your hand, and then when it's placed on the stage, burn one.
Yeah, that's also a card I definitely considered. I've seen that in another 8 on my list, and I actually wanted to include it in my original version of the list, but I ended up cutting it just to try to make it a bit more focused.
Hmm.
But that is definitely also a very viable inclusion in this deck. It's another way to burn one. Actually, Matt, if you could repeat the effect, when does it burn one? Is it when you play it from hand or when you stand by
When you
it?
play it from hand. Give me 1 second here.
I'm
I'll
pretty
play
sure.
it from
it's
I'm pretty sure
it's on play. You reveal top card if it's a character burn one.
that's the one. Yep.
Okay, on play from hand.
Yeah.
Yes.
correct.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean that's still quite viable. That's like another way to burn one. And the entire strategy of the top end is to basically do as many instances of damage as it can, and that, in fact, that also sits so big.
I think
Just
if
like
you
makes it a
get
great
into
infusion to
some
begin
sort of like
with.
choice standby, that card becomes a little bit more of a viable option. Just because with the choice, every time you trigger that, you do have that extra stock, so that
Yeah.
if you just need to get there, you could slap that thing down there, and it kills pretty much everything.
Yeah.
With the exception of probably Arista Soul Wall.
But yeah, the card seems better in maybe a 4 standby deck where
Yeah.
since you
Probably.
don't
Yeah, it's like
since you don't
choice
get the
standby.
yeah, since you don't get the burn if you stand by it to the board, it's maybe a little bit awkward, but
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, there's so like I could still see it though. Like
no, I mean it's probably
more
fine.
often than
Yeah.
not, I end up putting the conjures of my hand just from the fact that they heal.
Hmm.
Like there's definitely reasons to
I
you can
wish
still
that if
have
that
access
card
to it
healed, it would
because of the brainstorm or from the eye promo. There's you have ways to get that card into your hand to play it. So it's definitely worth considering.
I think you could very easily, if you wanted to run it, just like cut one of the 4 Kanadas for
Yeah.
like a copy of that card. Also
Yeah,
notable too
absolutely.
with the trial deck Setsuna we're talking about. I believe the power is not on play. The 5,000 power is on your turn if you have a full field.
Yeah.
double trigger here. Continuous
Which
if there are
will
4 more characters during your turn. Yeah, it's during
Yeah,
your
so
turn.
if
during
you
your
can,
turn.
if you
Yeah.
stand by that out to like maybe your back row and then untap with it, that is a truck.
Just kills anything. Yeah.
That is a
That is a
house.
truck kun. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Andy, with the statue deck you were playing, messing around with back in the Memory Snow days, like, I'm pretty sure that kills the statue. I could be wrong, but it should kill the
Oh,
statue.
that hits way over Super Wall.
The
Yeah.
statue's not that big.
I remember the statue a lot differently then, I guess.
I mean, in combination with the back row eye, could that potentially beat over Reinhardt? Probably.
Perhaps.
Oh, hell yeah.
Easily.
Dude,
Yeah.
I wonder if you could get that thing to 30k power. I bet there's a way. If you really wanted to.
The problem is Reinhardt runs, so he'll be out of there.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, but still,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
let him run away. That's a moral victory if I've ever heard one.
And I think the one thing I noticed when I was doing my brief 30 seconds of research before hopping on this call here, if you go back into the dark days of when people were like just brainstorming this, you never saw that 3-2 IMU with the one that uses the climax where it's her and Shiriko on the climax combo. You never like saw that, and just like it seems like over the past month, that's become very, very popular, as opposed to like the 1-0 IMU climax combo.
Mm-hmm.
That's like a really big talking point. Like,
It seems like that card just got overlooked at the beginning there. Perhaps.
Zach was mentioning it before, how like about like the 1-0 combo, why he played with it and then ended up switching off of it.
I think
because
it's still viable.
didn't
It
seem to
really
scale
depends on
well.
how you construct the deck.
Like I'm a huge fan of the level 1 Ayumu combo. I think it's ridiculous. The fact that you have a non-interactive plussing combo off of a standby.
Mm-hmm.
I think she competes with spaces a little bit for the eye, but I think it depends. If you want to go super offensive standby, you probably play the eyes. If you want to play the deck more defensively, maybe you use that IMU combo.
Well,
I just found like even in situations where it was like a good time to like play it, it just I would find myself feeling I would rather have just gotten my standby targets all set up this
You just want
turn
the standby targets
yeah. Instead of this. Like it felt nice to be able to plus and have a little bit more comfort, like a little bit more of a hand buffer. But I just in the end I just didn't feel like it was doing enough. I felt like
enough, yeah.
it was better to just play more conservative with my hand.
yeah, after being berated in Discord for the past 2 days and hearing multiple people explain it to me, like I definitely understand why people have kind of shifted towards the level 3 Ayumu combo, running double level 3 combo.
Mm-hmm.
I think the understanding I've really finally come to is that the 1-0 Ayumu combo, while it's good, it does not. It has very poor synergy with the overall strategy of 8 standby.
Yeah, specifically.
Whereas the Lion combo has very good synergy.
Like half the time I resolve that, I reveal a standby target and a non-standby target. My opponent will just put my standby target in my hand.
Hmm.
Which, I mean, and this deck has filtering options, so it's like not that bad. And I often was able to get standby set up by that point, and I just, for the most part, just wanted to card my hand so I could save something later.
Right.
But even then, it only gives you the like maybe 1-2 extra cards in your hand for the turn. Basically just replaces the Ayumu, which you then stand by over pretty quickly anyway, or it dies next turn and you have to replace it.
Sometimes it's okay to let it die.
Oh yeah.
The combo was just so super in 6 standby cost to me that I figured it would have to translate to the 8 standby build, but
dude, I want to see mono yellow.
That's just a first impression being wrong.
That's gonna be awesome if we ever come up with that one.
I'm gonna be honest. I think I did as much for the poor girls I could.
I mean, I feel like if you rolling back to the Wayback Machine here, I feel like if you put that Reno top end with the Kasu, you might be able to get that to work. Just send me the links. I'll try to get somebody to brew us one, and I'll play it at locals for like a month. See what happens.
All right. I guess maybe we, as for other things to talk about, maybe it looks like the 00 MI run is I'm the only person. My list is the only one that has that card in it, so I guess we could talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, that card is incredible.
The card is
It
really
is
good, yeah.
pretty
Like
good,
that's
yeah.
probably your
It is.
ideal zero turn, right? You just lay that thing down on the table and go to town.
Yeah, it is a 00 2500. I think you just can't side attack or something. And when you
I think
attack,
you
you
can't
choose
play
one of
event
two
either,
modes.
actually.
You
If I
choose one of
remember.
two. You choose one of two modes, which is either you can choose to make it a runner, during your opponent's next turn, or you can choose to give it honor versus draw ditch. So it's an ironic because that is a great filter option, and the set that really doesn't have too many of those. Like the best one obviously is the Premo Eye, and the Shizuku can kind of do it, but it can't. It's a little bit restricted because you can't. You can only do that when it dies.
Right.
So the Emma ends up being a very good one that has like there's no bad situation at zero for this card. Either you're filtering with it or it's a runner. Like it's
Right.
always doing something,
Yeah.
and it fixes for blue as well to allow you to more easily play your money counters later on.
Most of the Niji decks, I cannot remember that girl's name to save my life. The one where she's in the swimsuit that's next to the Kasumi Riki.
Shizuku.
That's
Shizuku?
okay.
She's
okay.
good.
A lot of decks are just straight up copy paste 4 of that card for the Emma, and then they figure out the rest of the deck from there. Like just the level 0 lineup in Niji is pretty baller. There's a lot of really hardcore level 0s here.
There are a lot of really good level zeros.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Emma level 0 is super good. Whether even when you're going first or second in the game, you're going first, you can make it a runner. It lives cross turn, and then you can switch modes and turn it into a draw ditch, let it die.
Get your standby targets in the graveyard.
Yeah. Fix your hand, and then it's done. It's done its duty more than enough at that point.
Yeah.
And I just think runners are so well positioned right now too. Like with a lot of the top decks banking on clean cut, like runners are super
Plus,
good
this
again.
is-
I think.
This is good a good strategy to get away from those bombs as well, because I mean we got the strawberry. What the hell's the berry's name?
The
from
Wildberry Princess.
Princess Wildberry.
Princess Wildberry, Nigel Thornberry. Anyway, yeah, I mean with that bomb plus there's a bomb in slime, right, as well.
There is.
Or no, they're just trying to send that mask to memory or whatever. I can't remember off the top of my head.
They do play a bomb. The stock swap in slime is a bomb.
Bombs are very common, like level 0 profiles.
Yeah.
So
Every set has a bomb.
This is true.
Does every set play the bomb?
Not
I
really.
mean, all the girls in this set are pretty bomb.
You
That
got
is
you got
true,
you got
Matt.
me there.
They are, especially Kasumi.
Yeah, Kasumi best.
We could have
But-
leaned more into the options.
But I think we got through that all right though. This has been we're like well over an hour at this point.
Easily,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, we've all just done like a lot of testing with this.
Yeah.
And, like there's a lot to talk about.
Lots to discuss.
I've been playing H Standby nonstop for the past 2 or 3 weeks. I must have played like 50 games at this point. By this point, so
Can
I
confirm.
have a lot to say.
Can confirm.
50 and 0 against Brandon.
Yeah, I'm sure Brandon's sick of this deck.
I'm sure everyone at my locals is sick of this deck.
Just you wait till you see what I'm bringing this week, Zach.
Oh my god.
I'll be making my epic return this week.
So should we
I think we
should we get to the outro here?
let's close it up.
Just
Here's-
remember, I will
Here's
be
the
there.
last slide. Thank you all for watching so much. There's the link to the Discords. There's the link to the Facebooks. You're not a boomer. You know how that shit works. There's our Twitters. Follow at Matt13Mamros, aka Big Moist, for some
Yeah, if you find me on Discord, I'm happy to BS with anybody that's willing to listen.
Yeah, you find Matt. You can ask for pictures of his Revue Starlight foil collection.
It's pretty hot.
It's coming along. It's coming along. You're like almost there, man. Just need
Hey,
that.
dude, if
my
only I
Nintendo.
had a bunch of ISPs so they could look at each other eye to eye.
Okay.
That's not bad.
I think with that, we should sign off here. Pittsburgh White Shorts, signing off. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.
Especially the idle
Peace
ones.
out.